just going to wait a minute or two to let everybody come in. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and on behalf of Cava, welcome to 360 Degrees of Cava. This is the third episode in our webinar series, and today we're going to be focusing on grape varieties. And before I hand over to our host and panel, just some quick housekeeping reminders for everyone. During the webinar, there are two communication methods for participants: the chat section and the Q&A. The chat is an informal way for you to communicate with the other participants. Just be sure to select all participants and attendees in the two fields that it can default to panelists only. And then we have the Q&A section as well. This is where we'd like you to submit your questions to the panel to be answered during the webinar. We will monitor that and make sure that we're answering as we go along. Just to keep you all informed, the session will be recorded, and then we'll share a YouTube link to the session afterwards. So to introduce you to today's host, we're very excited to be joined by Susy Atkins for today's session. She's going to be welcoming a panelist of three great representatives from some Cava webinars to talk to you about grape varieties today. So I'll hand over to Susy to get things started and enjoy the session.
Thank you very much, and welcome everybody. I'm delighted to be here to host this panel discussing the grape varieties as the main theme for this session of 360 Degrees of Cava. We will use grape varieties as our theme and talk about that a lot, but I think that's going to lead into some general discussions about Cava, as these things always do. So I would like to introduce the panel briefly. We're going to come back to them soon and learn much more about them. But for now, hello to Marc Picon, the Export Area Manager for Bodegas Morocco. Hello to Romain Zielgis, the Export Manager of Masset, and to David Piera, the Export Area Manager of Roger Goulart, CVNE, part of that group. Hello everybody, looking forward to the discussion that we're all going to have together in a few minutes' time. But by way of an introduction, an overview, I know a lot of you will know this information already, but just so we've covered all the bases. Spain, of course, uses its own grape varieties primarily for Cava, not international ones primarily, and I think that's really, a very, very important message, and one we're going to discuss in some detail later on. So the three indigenous Spanish grapes of the area are the most important. Xarel-lo, one of the varieties most closely associated with Cava, providing structure and body, good acidity, and a distinctive flavour that some describe as slightly earthy in a nice way, apple peely, and gives good aging potential as well, another subject we'll be touching on. Macabeo, aka Viora, of course, northern Spain's most planted white variety, planted also in La Mancha and Rioja and Valencia, but very important to Cava, of course. Gives us refined, elegant, well-balanced wines, light, quite aromatically floral, and comprises a lot of the blend in a typical Cava. Of course, we know they're all different, but it's not a surprise when you find that grape variety is very dominant in a blend. Parellada, the third one, medium acidity, again aromatic, good delicacy, fruity, freshness, very productive vine that's been documented since the 14th century, and again good aging potential. So something else to discuss there. So those three working together often. We'll talk about the different attributes they bring to Cava, but also joined, officially authorised for Cava in 1986 by Chardonnay, an international grape, of course, highly aromatic. We all know about Chardonnay, but good acidity for sparklers, of course, and quite exotic, sometimes more tropical aromas, fresh, elegant style. And then Subirat Perant, otherwise known as Malvasia riojana, an old variety from southwest Spain, giving fresh, structured wines, good aromas, good aromatic composition, rich tropical aromas sometimes, hints of herbs, and some complexity with age for that one. Those are the white varieties then. We're going to be talking about how the three main ones work together, how to make sure they're in balance and add to the final wine, and obviously the other white grapes and the qualities they can add to Cava as well. Then we're going to look at the red grape varieties, of course. So the red varieties permitted for Cava, Monastrell. I've got a slide for that. Thank you. So intense colour, as a lot of you will know, quite powerful, good aging potential there. Trepat, Catalan variety, used in Risado Cavas, pale red, fresh red berries, bit of citrus and good balanced acidity for that one, and more delicate colour. And Garnacha Tinta, otherwise known as Grenache, of course, which I think we all know is quite a powerful grape variety, gives us quite a high sugar content, delivers fruity aromas, and quite an abundance of red fruit, red berries going on there. So they're the red ones that are allowed. Now, I know that everyone who's joining us will know, but there's no harm in reminding us all that Cava is made in the traditional method, the champagne method. So, of course, when you taste your Cava, you're not just tasting the grapes that I've just described, you're tasting the interaction of the yeast with the grapes as well. So yeast is very, very important for the flavour, and, of course, adding those layers of complexity in the wine. So, of course, the grapes are very dominant in the flavours that they give to Cava, but unlike, say, Prosecco, where there isn't extended lees aging, we're not just tasting the fruit, we're tasting the interaction of yeast as well. Dosage is also important, of course, the sweetness level that the wines are made to. So we'll be talking about sweetness, dryness, and those of you who have the wines, and some people have got the wines this afternoon and some don't, I know, but those who've got the wines will notice some differences in dosage between the three wines that we've got. And of course, bottle aging all contribute to the flavour, so we can discuss that too. We can't really talk about just grapes without bringing in those other elements that are so important to the final flavour of each individual Cava. So grape varieties, traditional method, long aging and dosage, all making up the final flavours, of course. Right, enough of me rambling on. I think it's time to introduce our panel in more detail. So hello first, please, to Marc Picon from Bodegas Morocco. Marc, your mother was one of the first female winemakers, I understand, in the Penedès region, and passed her knowledge and passion on to you. And I understand you got a degree in economics in Catalonia, and then you were inspired to move into wine management. And I understand you visited more than 600 wineries, and then met the Sumarocca family on your return. So there's a quick introduction, but I'm going to hand over to you, please, to give an introduction to Bodegas Sumarocca. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marc. I'm the expo manager of the Bodegas Sumarocca, and what made me fall in love about Sumarocca is its personality. And the Bodegas Sumarocca is a family winery located south from Spain and close to the Mediterranean border. And that has something very clear, that the quality comes from grapes. And it's a family that decide to produce cavas and wines only with the state fruit. And that's very important, especially nowadays that the climate is changing a little bit. Knowing from ground zero what's going on and what you can do to adapt every vintage to the climatology, it's very important and unique. Also, we have been working for the last 10 years as an organic producer, and we get the certification in 2018. So from 2018, all the wines and cavas will be certified ecologic, and working very hard concerning the sustainability. We invest a lot of time, energy, and a little bit of money to develop all these sustainable projects. And we work basically with local grapes, and all our cavas are Reserva and Grand Reserva. And little by little during this presentation, we will talk a little bit longer about what does it mean and the influence or the effects of this extra aging in our products.
Thank you very much, Marc. Looking forward to tasting your wine. It's going to be the first one that we taste. If everyone who has got the wines can be ready with the Sumarocca as the first one we taste after I've introduced the rest of the panel properly. So Romain Bizielgis, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, of Masset. You were born in Paris, but you spent more than half your life in Spain, I understand. and worked in the winery for more than 15 years and the last 6 at this bodega as export manager, dealing with more than 25 markets. Please give an introduction to the bodega.
Yes, so my name is Roman. I've been living here for more than 20 years in Spain. I'm actually from Paris, but I didn't want to go back to the stress city, so I decided just to stay over there and join the company 6 years ago. I've been working for 15 years in the trade, the wine trade. And why I joined this company, because the family Massana is related to the vineyards and the local. We're based in La Granada, between Vilafranca del Penedès and San Antonio in the heart of the Penedès region. And we have a large history just related to the vineyards and the agriculture, the trade here, down here. So the project from the Masset was to develop all the exports in many different countries where I've been working, because Masset is the #1 and leading company in Spain for direct sales through telemarketing, which is a bit old school, but we have been just selling direct for more than 50 years to final consumer all around Spain, also in Germany. And the idea was just to develop the export side, and also with a lot of different region, because we based in the Penedès region, but we also doing some wine also in other region, as a priorat also in Catalonia, but also in Rioja. And the idea was just to have just Masset known, not only locally and just in Germany, but in many different countries, and have this just to transmit all this story and local wine growing process and know-how to other region, and just to have Masset known in many other different region.
Thank you very much, and we're looking forward to tasting your wine as well. And David Piera, then, Export Area Manager for Roger Goulart, part of CVNE. You're a certified sommelier and originally trained as a journalist, as I understand it, and has worked in the wine business for over 18 years, the last 4 as Export Manager at CVNE. If you could talk to us, please, about your bodega.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much for having us today. As well introduced by Susy, my name is David Piera. I'm working in this industry for 18 years. I'm born in Barcelona, so I'm more of a city boy who fell in love with wine since my young ages, as my dad had the brilliant idea of sharing wine with me since I was pretty young. So I had the good luck of starting to work in the wine industry very young, and I've been here all my life. I'm working in Roger Goulart. Roger Goulart has this beautiful modernist style winery you're seeing now in the screen. And Roger Goulart is a unique winery within the Penedès. This winery, we are one of the pioneers of the Cava making since 1882. And what makes Roger Goulart unique and very special is that since the very beginning, this winery was conceived to produce the best champagne. Back then, everything was champagne. So to produce the best champagne possible in Spain. So we have always been focused in producing Cava only, never produced still wines or any other beverage. Okay, and the winery is to produce champagne. So we have, since the late 19th century, beginning of 20th century, we have a beautiful 1 kilometer tunnels at 30 meters downstairs, where we find the best conditions for the second fermentation inside the bottle, and then later the aging, 14, 15 degrees, all year round, 85% humidity. And what I like to share a lot with one of our best international market, Japan, we don't depend on aircon or in any electronics. In here, conditions are same for more than 100 years. And that gives us this beautiful heritage, gives us the ideal location for producing quality. And that's what we, and this is our original mission, and this is what we still do. Okay, producing premium Cavas, Reservas, Grand Reservas. This is Roger Goulart. Back then, huge, I think, project to produce the best champagne. nowadays a very traditional winery that joined CVME group since 2017. CVME is the short for Compañía Vinícola del Norte de España, one of the premium groups here in Spain, with brands such as Cune, Imperial, Contino, or Viña-Real. So this uniqueness of Regular is what attracted CVME, and we are part of this group since 2017. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, David. Welcome to all three of you, and many thanks for joining us and showing us your wines as well. I'm lucky enough to have the wines here. I've actually poured the Morocco Grand Reserva Brut Nature, which I'm going to start tasting. So I hope all the guests can do that too that have got the wines. Let's start this conversation though by talking about these three major grape varieties and what they contribute to the blend, what flavours each of the three main indigenous grape varieties contribute to the blend. Mark, can I come to you first? Can you talk to us about the flavour of Cava that comes from these grape varieties? Do we have Mark there? No?
Excuse
David,
me. No. I do have.
You're there. Hello. Yes. Did you catch my question?
Yeah. I think we were blessed by these three grapes because they are complementary. Actually, especially Xarel·lo, which is the queen of the local grapes, is the one that will help, as you said, will have to have a good structure and have a good age potential, and have this fennel and apple flavors together with Macabeo that has a little bit more apricots and fruity style, and together with Parellada. And the mix of these three grapes helps to make a different and interesting cavas. And I think it's part of the success of this product is these three grapes.
I think it's really interesting, isn't it, that you know, so many fine sparkling wines across the world are made from the same grape varieties, the champagne grape varieties, but here with Cava we have these three indigenous, very different grapes that consumers may not have heard of. Interesting that you say you find them very complementary. Romain, what do you feel about the three main Spanish white grape varieties? What do you have a favourite? What do they contribute to the blend?
I think, just as like Mark was saying, just like the Xarel·lo got this spinal structure to that's the identity, of course, of the Penedès of the Catalan region. Also the Parellada, but you can find also the Parellada in another region in Spain. Yeah. And the Macabeo, which is more like floral, big production, quite a lot of alcohol, which is also balancing and giving also a bit of warmth and just also a bit of structure also to the wine. And me, I'm always asked also just to compare it with the champagne, because as I'm French, they're always just telling me, there is like a particularity or something like, okay, that's different region, different climates. Here is like much more like Mediterranean, mild and warm. So I think each autochthonous just grape variety adapts itself just to and plus that's know-how from the Catalan people for many years, just doing their own just sparkling and second fermentation for many years, because you got the phylloxera. You know, when the phylloxera, Catalonia had like for 20 years, very golden age between like 70 and because it reached Catalonia at the end of the 19th century, when in France it started in 1870. So a lot of French they came just to Catalonia, just also to discover also the local grapes and things like that. And after, I think the style moved to maybe just more like Chardonnay and things like it was imported from France. But now we can see that the trend is more to get back to the local autochthonous ID, which is like the Xarel·lo, Parellada, and Macabeo, which are the basic and which are like the giving all the essences of the and versatility, as you say, I think.
Versatility.
To the Cava, which is a unique product and sparkling product, just with a second fermentation.
Thank you, David. Do you want to add anything to this before we taste the first wine? David, do you want to make an introductory comment on the three grape varieties from Spain, the main ones?
I think it's been very well explained by my colleagues. They are complementary. They allow us to use them it depends in which kind of cava we are looking for. Maybe you might use more chalero if you are looking for a longer aging, much more, you will need more alcohol content, more structure, then maybe you work more the chalero. If you're looking for maybe a Reserva, maybe you can use more Macabeo, searching for more fruity notes. So that's the good thing of playing with the three of them together. And then Parellada is a beautiful third grape that enriches the blend with a touch of finesse, elegancy, floral notes. That we find this kind of situation in other wine regions, like for instance in Rioja. You might use a bit of Graziano to the blend to empower it with its good acidity and its structured tannins. So you find this kind of grapes in many regions that maybe by their own, they are not the most expressive, but they help to have a beautiful and balanced.
So the advantage of blending as opposed to the famous Italian sparkler that is made predominantly from, well, almost entirely from one grape variety only. I want to talk in a moment a bit more about whether consumers understand these different grape varieties from Spain. I think that's a good discussion point. But when we get onto that, Mark, if I can go back to you, could you just introduce our first wine, please, the Grand Reserva Brut Nature, which is, as I understand it, a 2017 vintage. Yes, there we've got the details of it there. Yeah, do tell us a bit about this, Mark, because some of us are sipping this now.
Well, to be honest, it's one of my favorite products from Morocco. So I'm very happy to and pleased to be capable to introduce this to you. First of all, is Grand Reserva. That is the time the bottle remains in the cellar after the second fermentation. And in this occasion, we are talking about the Cava that is more than 3 years of bottle aging. And that will give a little bit of complexity and finesse and elegance, and a little bit of the oxidation in a positive way. And produced with the 3 local grapes, Xarel·lo, Parellada, and Macabeo. Focusing Xarel·lo, as I said before, is the queen of the local grapes, is the one that if you want to produce, in my opinion, a serious Cava, the one that you are going to use mainly. Hand harvest. That's crucial to have a very have the best grapes possible. And in this particular occasion, this Brut Nature Grand Reserva or Grand Reserva Brut Nature, we do almost all the grape juice is free run juice. So basically, we do not press the grapes, so we slightly press the grapes to obtain the best grape juice possible to have the possibility to age extra this Cava. So after the disgorgement, that is when you remove the lees from inside the bottle, we always keep the Cavas around 6 months to give an extra, add certain extra complexity. In this occasion, well, it happens like this. And this Cava, I like it because Brut Nature, I believe, is the style or is the favorite from the people from the region. If
so
you ask
we can see on the list 1 gram of sugar per litre dosage. So very, very, very dry.
It's residual sugar. Actually, it's not added sugar. Yeah. It's not a dosage. It's if you do analyze, every bottle is going to be different. It could be 1 gram or 0.8 or 1.2 grams.
It's minute, basically. It's negligible what you've got there. So you've got a bone dry Cava. You think there's a really interesting future ahead for this style?
Indeed, and actually, the majority of the people of the region prefer Brut Nature because it cleans your palate and let you enjoy the food you have in front. And you have to understand that we are Mediterranean. We love to eat a lot, to drink a lot, and shout a lot. And in order to do that, we need exactly a drink that helps a little bit. So again, it's drier, but the beautiful thing about this Cava, and that's why I like it, it's dry, but has certain complexity in the mouth, and it's waking up little by little. And this complexity and this fruitiness, roundiness that has in the mouth because of the extra aging, because of the grapes, sometimes make the people believe that has a certain residual sugar and it doesn't have any.
It doesn't have any.
Something very unique also is you can find a little bit of the bitterness, typical bitterness from Xarel·lo. in the middle back part of the palate, when you drink it, there's a little bit of bitterness, and that's very typical from Xarel·lo. And I like this feeling in my mouth. And
this is organic. This is made from organic grapes only.
Indeed, it's going to be in 18. You can see the certification, and 17 has been working in conversion.
In 17, yeah.
But in 18, it's already certified, and yes.
Since 2018, you've been organic. Cava has to be 100% organic by 2025. Is that correct?
Indeed, yeah. That's the target. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, marvelous.
I think it's very positive for the entire region, and personal opinion, also Morocco believe that is even more important that the wineries go into the sustainable direction rather than the organic direction. And personally in Morocco, every pound that we have is going to developing sustainable projects rather than continue working organically, that we already have the certification.
Would anyone else like to comment on the organic viticulture? David, yeah. Romain, comments on?
Yes, I could totally agree. I mean, just with the what was saying, like also Mark, because all the sustainability of wine production, that's a big challenge. I mean, because a lot of the water is used for the agriculture, but also for the viticulture, and a lot of byproducts, pomace, stems, whatever, just all this residual stuff we're just using from the vine viniculture. Is very important just to know how we're going to reuse it, and how we're going to reduce also this waste of water or whatever. Just so this sustainability, I mean, just that there is this trend also of eco-friendly whatever, and drinking better, drinking less. Sometimes we want to drink double because it's eco and it tastes good, and you have this feeling that you made something healthy for your body or whatever. Just, but we have to. I think in the Pyrenees region, I think they are the leading region for all this move to the eco-friendly and certification, and I think they're moving much faster. But for example, in France, because if you look at Champagne, I'm sorry because I'm always referring to France, but I can't do anything.
It's interesting. It adds an interesting perspective.
And the trend is not like so fast, like compared to the Pyrenees region and Cava producer, because in France, if you go in the shelves or whatever, you can find so many Champagne which are like eco certified. So sustainability, yes. A lot of people also have been just producing like Cava without certification for many years. But I think for our job just to export, we need just this certification, the CCCPI, which is the certification bureau here from Catalonia, just to expand and to explain also the project, and to see that we are one of the DO, which is the leading DO for all this move to the eco-friendly and organic certification and way to produce the agriculture and viticulture.
Thank you. I'd like to just ask another question that touches on something we've already talked about, which is that the grapes for Cava are obviously different to the traditional Champagne grapes. But my question to all three of you really, and you can decide who shouts first. But do consumers understand that the grapes are different? Do they know the grape variety names, do you think? And are sparkling wine drinkers even interested in grape varieties? Do they care that these grape varieties make Cava? David, can I ask you? I'm going to ask David because.
Sorry.
Well, first, just referring to the previous topic, I think that I completely agree with my colleagues, and I think that it's pretty ambitious and beautiful that all the producers here in Cava are agreeing in moving to organic and sustainable agriculture, because this is unique worldwide. So it's a good example of the commitment here in the area. And with regards if people cares or not care, I think maybe you start to care about the grapes as you start enjoying the wine. So of course the interest starts growing as your knowledge expands. So even at first we cannot expect, of course, that people knows grapes, because me either I don't know all the grapes in Italy or even in France, which maybe are the most popular. But then they will, as I enter in the wine, they will explain to me, they will explain to us about that wine and about why these characteristics. So yes, I think they are truly important, and it's one of our important tasks to do communication.
I think so. I think there could be more education perhaps about them, and that they're different and that they're unique, unique to Cava in terms of sparkling. Mark, what do you think about that? Do you think you could be shouting more in Cava generally about these grape varieties, making them more famous?
I think we have to share knowledge about grapes, of course, but it's important, in my opinion, at that step, no. We have to create the brand and the perception that we are producing a good product. It's like, for instance, Jura. Jura is producing a wonderful wines, and nobody knows, or few people know, that is Trousseau and Savignon, or nobody knows this grape variety. Nobody knows how they taste like. They know what they know is the region is producing good wines. And that's what Cava has to go. And Cava has, every time somebody opens a bottle of Cava, have to discover something, have to be excited, have to be transported to the Mediterranean border if possible. And in my opinion, we will achieve this target by using local grapes that are the ones that have this uniqueness.
Thank you. I think we're going to taste the Masset Rosé, Risado Reserva now. Romain, could you talk to us, please, about this wine? Thank you also for stepping in at quite short notice, because I think some of you got invitations saying there would be a wine from Val Formosa tonight, this afternoon. But in fact, we have
neighbors, we know each other. No problem.
So there you see the details are up on the screen about this wine. I don't have a fresh bottle of it, but I had a tasting sample bottle a few days ago, and it's wonderful. So tell us all about it, please.
Yeah, first I would just start with the name. I mean, new. I mean, in Catalan, like in French, means like naked. I mean, just that's a reference to the fact we're not just adding any additives or any like synthesis product or whatever. Is been like we have been certified for now 2018, and that's what our like leading like rosé, and we're working on the freshness, on something just easy to drink. 12 months on lees in the bottle before disgorging. That's the dosification at 7.5 grams. And we're looking for something refreshing. Yes, easy drinking with a good structure with the Trepat, which is a very, very interesting like grape variety, which has been introduced in 98. And which is more and more used like for the blend, also for the rosé cava. Also, sometimes we're using a bit of Pinot Noir, but on this one it's like Grenache, and which is giving also the alcohol, the structure, and the Trepat, which is giving all this nice notes of raspberry, cherry, like it's a lot of finesse. I mean, just it's adding some structure, but and also some spice and cinnamon, a bit of also of orange peels. So something like you just enjoy, like on the snacking, tapas, whatever, and it's very versatile just to be combined with matching with a lot of Asian food or whatever. And that's a project we have been developing in Brut Nature, Brut, and the Rosé. And that's one of our first cava just to be certified, and we just slowly moving to certify other cava. This same cava just struck like decanter like bronze medal, which is not the gold, but we participate. We struck something, and we're going just to taste it. I'll just open it because it was just from a side. So you can see like very, very like fine bubbles. So this is due like also like at the nice like yeasty and the second fermentation in bottle, because normally when you have like not very well made just second fermentation, you got like very, I mean, just big bubbles or whatever. Just that is very typical to the cava. I mean, just the second fermentation, this time on lees, and on this case we're not talking about autolysis because it's not spending enough time just on the lees like as for the other cava, which has like runs Reserva. But you can see all the concentration, a lot of orange apple, orange peels notes. very freshness, like a lot of strawberry and cherry, and it's very light with a like refreshing like aftertaste. But I don't know if you
It's a very expressive wine. I mean, I found it very fruity, lots of cherries in there, strawberries, as you say, citrus, cranberries. It's very expressive. It's a fruit cocktail.
It's very feminine. It's very feminine also, just style of Cava, and I think it's just there's a lot of demand growing for the rosé Cava, and because the image of the Cava also was not so good like a few years back, because it was considered like something like big production or massive production. But now I think with the new train, all this organic certification, all these big wineries just doing like very top, and just Cavas, they can compete with any big champagne, whatever. I can tell you, because when you're just buying like a champagne at like 40 euro, which is made like sometimes from big cooperative, just a mix of different wine from different vintage or whatever. It has nothing to do like to the single vintage, because the Cava have been like always been vintages. Just they're not like coming from different years or whatever, and you make a blending just to make a kind of blend. Just blend which is corresponding to the trademark of one winery.
Would this wine be one that you would age, or is this something that you would recommend for early drinking? Does one age Cava Risado?
So, some other winery will maybe just have these politics, but we prefer to have like something like more fresh, less oxidation, and also with the trepat and Grenache. I think this blend also it's better, and it's in this youngest just time. Even if the Grenache can be just aged for many years, like for the still wine, whatever. But we prefer to have like a fresher, easy drinking, and a wine with a lot of nerves. Just compared to.
Thank you. Just so that the guests are reassured, I am picking up the questions. If you could please put the questions in the Q&A part, not the chat part. We've had a question come in that I will throw back at Mark, I think. Someone's asking whether there's much in the way of biodynamics in Cava.
Not that I am aware of. I think people so far is more focused into the organic rather than the biodynamics. It's interesting, or some of the organic activities or everyday works at the farm are considered biodynamic. But in my opinion, it's not followed by a lot of people.
Not a big movement at the moment. Okay.
Not yet.
And another question has come in. I don't know who would like to tackle this one. Maybe none of you. What is the response to the surge in popularity of Italy's Prosecco? Ooh, that's opened a can of worms. Anyone want to take that on? What is the response?
Yeah, why not? Because everywhere I think the three of us, everywhere we're just going, we got, mainly also in the United States, whatever, or in England, the Prosecco is our big, not enemy, but that's the one we just...
Rival.
Our rival, exactly, or challenger, whatever. I think one more time we have to talk about the second fermentation, history, time is involved, ID from the Xarel·lo, Macabeo, Parellada, whatever, Trepat or Garnacha, and to explain just that we got like a very, a product which is a very good quality, and we can just the thing with the Prosecco, whatever, just except it's Charmatank, whatever. There is something to do also with the price positioning, and also, but the Italians have been doing this job for many years. They have been trading on the market and selling their wine for many years. And sometimes you go to a bar, whatever, and people are saying Prosecco. They're not even asking like from one specific winery or whatever, or they just even don't know which kind of fermentation is made. Is this like Charmatank, like second fermentation? What kind of even like Grape Variety or whatever? The same in France also. If you ask like French people if which grape varieties are in a blend for the champagne, I think you got like 1 out of 10 which respond like the correct one.
I mean, it seems to me that the key message Cava needs to get across is its complexity. You know, the complexity of these grape varieties marrying together, the complexity of the traditional method. We all know that, us all joining in this afternoon. But you know, that is what Cava has over Prosecco is complexity, and that is
with the Franciacorta, for example, which is like following the same second fermentation. That will be challenger for the Cava, but to be compared with the Prosecco, and you got very good Prosecco, but that's something totally different. And they got their idea, and I've been doing the job just to position, to travel, and to sell their product better than maybe we're doing now. But we just more slowly by slowly we're getting some ground and trying to get back to the time lost for those years.
Thank you. David, I would like to bring you in now because we're going to taste your wine next. Do you have anything to add to that, either about the biodynamics or about the challenge presented by Prosecco?
Well, the biodynamics, I 100% agree with Mark. I'm not aware. I mean, I think maybe that's a movement that is outside Cava, not in Cava. Okay, so with but of course there is a big movement of natural wines, biodynamic, method ancestral, but this is outside the Cava population. And with regards to Prosecco, I'm very happy that people is drinking bubbles. You know, it's a different. That's the point. The point is that they come and drink bubbles. And as Mark said, what we need to do is doing the best we can and get to be known by the quality of our sparklings. So they will drink Prosecco, and then later they maybe will drink Cava. I don't think we have to fix. We have to focus them. They didn't do it. They didn't. They find their own area within their own place. They did it brilliantly. They have designed a very nice product. And
well, I like that's a positive attitude to it. Prosecco brings people into bubbles, and perhaps they pop out the other side into more sophisticated bubbles.
Perhaps they will. They will. Then later they will come Cava.
I like to think so. That's where the press can help too. David, thank you. We're going to taste your wine now. So if we can have the details of that wine up on the screen, please. And those that have it, this is the Grand Reserva 2015. You've got there the proportions of the three grape varieties, and the fact that this is a somewhat older wine, 6 years old, and the dosage is 5, so it's sitting in between the negligible of the first wine and the 9 or so of the Risado. So David, tell us about this wonderful wine. It's a beautiful gold colour. Love it.
Thank you. This is our Grand Reserva, or Grand Reserva Brut, and it's a traditional blend of Xarel·lo Macabeo Emparellada, main grape Xarel·lo. As in here, with this wine, what we're looking is for aging. We're looking for the complexity we will receive by the time in the winery. So, as I think all the attendants know, this wine will perform the autolysis process within, which will enrich the blend with protein, the amino acids, fat acids, and also adding all these tertiary aromas on top. This is a 2015 vintage. It means that's the harvest. It means in the bottle since February 2016. This gorge about February-March 2021. So this is 5 years on the lease.
Extraordinary.
And then the wine you might have in the market might have 6 or 4-6 months in the bottle. Okay.
So we can taste the maturity. I mean, you can see the deeper gold color, but you know, lovely kind of creaminess, smoothness, some toasty aromas and flavors coming in there. Is this ready to drink now, or would you suggest people could cellar it for even longer?
Drink it.
Drink now. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it's time to drink it. It's time to drink it. As the Cava, we age. One of the characteristics of regular is that we produce as much as we can under purchasing order. So we decide when the Cava is ready, as it is expedited from the winery. we recommend to be drunk within a year or 2 years, but not to keep. So if you find it, please enjoy it. I'm sorry, not everyone has the Cava, so I cannot focus on the peculiarities of Regular, just slightly. We work very long agings, but as maybe Susy, you can reckon. One of the other characteristics is that still the color is quite pale for the 5 years of aging. We like this, sorry.
Considering its age, yes, it's gold, but not dark gold. Yeah, it's gorgeous, and I just think to pick up those different, slightly savoury, salty, toasty characteristics is really interesting. And I wonder how many Cava drinkers really seek out. They go looking for these older releases. Do you think it's a very significant point of reference for Cava, these older releases?
Yes, they are. But of course, if we go by numbers, production of premium Cava is 15% of the total production. So of course, the vast majority is Cava that moves 10, 15 months. Okay, but of course, there are many wineries like those, like the panelists in here, that we focus in the premium, and we focus in the our best product focus in the aging as the best selection of the grapes and the best wine we can offer, of course.
Can you comment on the blend in this? The 60% of Xarel·lo, is that what's driving it as a good wine for aging? Would that be typical to have 2/3 nearly of that grape variety if it's going to be on lees for a long time?
Yes, definitely. The two key grapes in the Penedès, my opinion, for the long aging is Chardonnay or Xarel·lo. So Xarel·lo is the main grape always in our blends for our Grand Reservas. As when I started, I'm gonna give a very easy tip. But when I started, the former winemaker just told me, Xarel·lo, as we do long agings, he told me Xarel·lo is always over the skeleton. Macabeo is like the flesh; it will add, movement and finesse, and then the Parellada is like the perfume, like the touch. So yes, definitely Xarel·lo is key for us as it adds structure and alcohol, so capacity for the aging.
Brilliant. I wonder, I mean, I kind of wrote this down as a question to ask, and it's a rather vague, esoteric question, but the flavours in Cava seem unique to me in sparkling wines. They're not, you don't get those flavours, you don't get the style from anywhere else. Could they be reproduced elsewhere? Could these grape varieties be planted elsewhere and you'd get the same flavours, or do you think that's impossible? Because we don't see these grape varieties being used widely for sparkling anywhere else. Carry on, David.
Well,
sorry.
I mean, like, for instance, we also have Chardonnay, and our Chardonnay is quite different from the Chardonnay in other areas of Spain or from France. Indeed, Xarel·lo, Macabeo, and Parellada are the three beautiful grapes from the Penedès. Cava can be produced in other parts of Spain,
yes,
like perhaps some of you know. In those parts, they cannot produce such Xarel·lo and such Macabeo. So these grapes, as Mark said, will bring you to the border of the Mediterranean, and that cannot be reproduced anywhere else. That also explain. They are explained by of course, by the terroir and by the territory. So even in other parts of Spain, they cannot reproduce the Xarel·lo and the Macabeo we have, and they might focus more on Chardonnay.
That is really interesting. When I asked the question, I was talking more on an international stage. We don't see these grape varieties being used for sparkling, but that's very interesting what you say about the Penedès for the traditional varieties and the Chardonnay perhaps in the other areas that are permitted for Cava. Romain, you wanted to say something?
No, I think just he answered to, I mean, just he explained quite something. I mean, just what I think that's the identity and the, for example, the Xarel·lo or whatever. I don't know, but maybe just they have been trying just to grow it like in other region and other country, but I don't have any just feedback or something from one winery just excelling in just like maybe in still wine, but not in a blend of with Parellada and Macabeo. Okay, Xarel·lo also has a still white wine, just can go like also like fermented in barrels, whatever. And it's like it's a very expressive like white varieties. We can be aged also and giving like very expressive and very versatile. I'm just like can adapt like to aging, whatever. Just like it got this like minerality, this like night notes like also some time of baked apple, whatever. Just also a bit of spice. Yeah, that's something like special. Just and I think it's the best part of just to have it grown. It's like in Penedès and many different regions. Different depends also on the altitude of kind of clones because you got like many different clones from Xarel·lo, Parellada, whatever, and everyone just is adapting to different altitudes, climates, whatever. Just but more or less like in the continental, whatever, just region from the Penedès. I mean, just all the Alpes Penedès. That's where the express is best. I mean, just and it cannot be reproduced in other part of Spain or region. Just I'm a bit like Catalan, but whatever. Just I'm living here.
A Frenchman in Penedès. Mark, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes.
The uniqueness of Cava, the unique flavors created there?
I hope that one day somebody try to copy Cava by planting the Cava grapes in somewhere else, no? And that's one of the most thing that that means, or that could mean that we are doing the things right. I think the uniqueness of Cava, and we have been trying to be for so long the alternative to champagne, that now that we are going backwards to working back with the local grapes, and people will figure in the future how unique is the Cava. And I'm totally agree with David. And we don't need to follow what Prosecco is doing. We have to build our own road, our own future. And in my personal opinion, is by working with the local grapes. International grapes are interesting in the region, are producing very interesting Cavas. But for our experience, the grapes that are more adapted to the region concerning the ecology are the local grapes, the grapes that have been here for a long time and are super adapted to these climate conditions. Even though they are changing, at least they are adapted to these climate conditions.
Thank you. I've got a question here from Richard. Is all Risado Cava made from black varieties, or can assemblage be used as in champagne, i.e. red wine added for colour? This is back to you, Romain, I think.
To switch it on, just yes. What this is referring just to the maybe to the blanc de noir. I'm just like a small contact. I'm just between the skin and the must, just to give also this kind of pale color we got, like for example for Cava Rosé. In France also they just putting like crushing the old grapes, or sometimes also just adding like a still wine to a white wine champagne, like I mean just the basic wine. The difference, there is two different type of fermentation and elaboration, but I think the one we're using also in France give like much more like alcohol and concentration. Also, we got all this when you put like the grapes like to ferment it, like the whole grapes, just making also like intracellular just fermentation, whatever. And sometimes it's giving like also a color or a contact with the skin which is larger and giving like much more color. So in Spain, for example, and the grapes we just using the Subil, the Trepat and Grenache, we got a much lighter, just pale color and less contact also with the skin. So we do not want to have to have so much extraction or whatever. Just give it a much lighter and much fresher, just kind of rosé champagne, sparkling wine, or Cava or champagne.
Thank you. I think we've got a one I'm going to throw at you all and see who picks up on this one. Heather Doherty is asking, what is the opinion on Rioja's new sparkling wine category? Do you need me to say that again?
Could you please repeat?
There is a problem with that. Yes, Heather Doherty was asking, your reaction to Rioja's new sparkling wine category.
Which is?
I've never heard of it, but they're not talking about the.
Heather, tell us more. They're not talking about it.
Well, you know that
Cava.
That's it. Yeah, there's Aro, no? People from Aro can produce Cava, but it's a very tiny little production.
Okay. I'm aware that we're running out of time. Erica has asked, it would be interesting to hear when Cava shows the autolysis flavours in time. Is it 9 months, 12 months? It was mentioned that 12 months for the rosé means the Lise character would not be so much part of this wine, or did she misunderstand? When do you start to get the autolysis character? How many months? That's quite a technical question.
Well, the autolysis, the autolysis, we can say it can start like the degradation of the cells within the wine. It can start like, I don't know, month 12, 13, 14, and then last for many, many months, years. So depending the autolysis character and the aging character that you want to give.
Is 9 months enough to give the Lise character? No, you all think it should be a bit more than that.
In our opinion, yes.
Yeah, me too. We only just doing, I mean, for the rosés 12 months, but we're just doing like minimum like 15 months to whatever, 36 or whatever. Just
that's
like
interesting response there. Okay, I think this may have to be the last one. Quentin Sadler's asking, do you ever think that grapes like Albarino could be included in the Cava rules? Or would you rather Galicia made its own brand of sparkling wine? Ooh.
That's a very interesting question. In my opinion, Albarino don't have to be allowed in Penedès, but there's other grapes that, in my opinion, are good enough and local from Penedès that could be authorized to produce Cava, like Malvasia from Sitges and Sumoll. That is a red grape variety, and it produces a wonderful rosé sparkling wine and also wonderful Blanc de Noir. Has a lovely acidity, and we have been doing some experiments, of course, outside of the appellation, just to understand what's going on in this grape. And with almost 10 years old Sumoll Cava or sparkling wine, and it's a grape to be considered. And I don't know if there's something from the DO here. Sorry about that, guys. But I hope that especially Sumoll will be authorized in the future.
Thank you very much. And I'm afraid we will probably have to end there for the main part of this. Ellen's going to come back and tell us a few things at the end. But I'd like to say a huge thank you to you all, guys, for joining us from Spain. It's been a real treat to hear your views. And I've been lucky enough to taste your wonderful wines. So a lot to think about with Cava there. And a lot of great questions from the guests as well. So thank you, everybody. And thank you to Cava DO for asking me to host this. I hope you all have a very good evening. Happy Cava drinking. Eleanor, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie, and especially thank you to David, Mark, and Roman for joining us today for a really interesting hour. Just a reminder that we've got one final episode left in the series on the 10th of November, which will be hosted by Richard Bamfield, MW, on trading up sustainably. So please do join us if you can. We'll be sharing the details. And then another reminder about the Cava Academy, which is an e-learning platform open to wine professionals. Suzanne is going to just pop a link in the chat just in case you want to find out more about that. We'll share a link to the recording from today's session with you all as a follow-up. And yes, thank you again for joining us, and hope you have a really lovely evening.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Eleanor, for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Good evening.
You too.
Good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.